What's up, you guys? I'm Rachel DeMita, and welcome to the Courtside Club. Here we are again with more WNBA CBA updates. Who's ready for some more drama? Raise your hand. Anyway, I did not think that I would be filming another WNBA CBA update video for you guys, and it's not my favorite topic to cover, but I do want to keep you guys informed, and there was some new information that came out just today from Annie Costable. Shout out to Annie Costable. She has been on top of all of this, and I feel like she has been breaking some major news when it comes to the WNBA's new CBA that they're still trying to work out. Now, in yesterday's episode, I gave you guys the update that they have extended once again, and now the deadline is January 9th to get a deal done. But Annie Costable just reported today that the WNBA proposes cutting team housing and an earlier start to the season. The league is proposing a 7-figure base maximum salary, but it's coming at a cost. Now, I'll go over really quick the latest monetary offer that the league proposed to the players, and I talked about this in yesterday's episode in a voiceover, but as a reminder, the league's latest proposal includes a base salary of $1 million with potential earnings from revenue sharing, increasing that number to $1.2 million, and multiple players per team can be up for that supermax contract in 2026. The average salary is projected to exceed $500,000 with a minimum of more than $225,000. And this was the number that really stood out to me because just last season, the max salary in the WNBA was around $220,000. Now that is going to be the minimum salary that a player can receive playing in the WNBA. So you can see the huge leap that the WNBA is offering when it comes to purely how much the players would make off of their salaries. Now, the biggest sticking point for the players has been the revenue sharing, but the salary cap is currently at $1.5 million per team, and this would increase to $5 million. And under the league's most recent proposal, the salary cap would grow with the league and team revenue regardless of targets. And this was one of the things that the players were upset about because before the revenue sharing went into effect, stick with me here, if the league hit certain targets, and the players were complaining that COVID kind of made it so that they couldn't hit these targets, and in turn they couldn't unlock the revenue sharing that they felt like they deserved. Now the league is proposing, they're saying that regardless of if you hit the targets or not, whether it's a wildly profitable year in the WNBA or they have a huge flop year and it's like a COVID year where they barely bring in any money, they will still grow the salary cap as each year goes on. Does that make sense? It probably doesn't make sense. I'm doing my best, you guys, to explain this to the best of my knowledge and put it into terms that everyone can understand, but basically they don't have to meet those targets. They will get this revenue, and the salary cap will continue to increase as seasons go by. Now for the kicker, the brand new nugget of information that we found out just today, and that is that the league has removed team housing from proposals submitted to the WNBPA. Teams have been required to provide players with in-season housing since 2016. And this is something very similar to what they do in the G League. So for G League players, they're provided housing. The G League players don't make nearly as much as NBA players do. And obviously it's a developmental league. Some G League players get pulled up to the NBA. Some go back and forth between the NBA and G League. But when you are assigned to a G League team, they put you up in team housing. If you don't want that team housing, you are still offered a stipend per month. And that is what the WNBA has also been doing. And the WNBA stipend that they get per month, it's pretty much between like $1,000 per month up to like $2,700 per month, depending on what city you're living in, because obviously some cities are more expensive than others. But essentially, if you don't want to live in the WNBA housing, you can just use that money toward whatever rent or mortgage or whatever you're paying. But now the WNBA is saying that they will not be providing housing with this new salary offer because obviously they are offering them much more money. My first reaction to this is like, at some point in time, if we want the WNBA to be a real league and these players to be making real money, of course they're not going to be paying for housing. I'm sorry, it makes sense to me. And I know a lot of the WNBA fans online are like, how dare you take away the housing? How dare you take away the housing? Well, if these players are making over $1 million, they should be taking away the housing. That's an added cost for the league, and hopefully it gets to the point where everybody is making significant amounts of money and they can pay for their housing. Now, people were bringing up, what about the players who are coming in on hardship contracts? What about the players who, are in and out or on 10 days or whatever, like not those players who are obviously fundamental pieces to different teams. And I do think like there's no way that the WNBA doesn't have some sort of clause in there to where they are able to put up a player who came in on a hardship contract or put up a player who came in on a 10-day, like put them up in a hotel for however long they're with that team until they get a salary where they're able to provide some sort of housing. I feel like hopefully that's just something that's not included in this article or included in this update. I couldn't see a world where they don't provide it for situations like that. But when it comes to somebody who is signing a multi-year deal with a team and they're making, like we talked about, an average of $500,000, you're going to get to a point where the league is not paying for housing. Also, the season is very, very short. The next nugget of information that we gained today was that the league has also proposed lengthening the season, including an earlier start date that is expected to interfere with the NCAA tournament and potentially other leagues such as Project B. The start date for the training camp could be as early as mid-March, sources indicated. The current 44-game regular season runs from mid-May to early September. The 2025 WNBA Finals ended on October 10th. I'm laughing because it's just crazy to see how short the season actually is when they put it like that. Mid-May to September, so May, June, July, August, September. It's not even a full 5 months for the teams that don't make it into the playoffs. For the teams that make it into the finals, it's 6 months of basketball. That's a very short season as opposed to other professional sports leagues. But one of the things that the players have been complaining about is that they have added more games to the schedule, but they haven't lengthened the season. So Satu Sabli was one who came out and said that there's too many back-to-backs, and that's what's causing some of the injuries, the influx in injuries that we are also seeing in the last WNBA season. But here's another thing. It gets back to my point of we want to see the WNBA become a major sports league and be highly regarded and highly respected and have this be their full-time job. Like I feel like everybody's goal, if they get the right people in place in leadership in the WNBA, because it's kind of a mess from top down, but everybody's goal should be like this should be their full-time job. The players shouldn't have to play in off-season leagues to make more money. They shouldn't want to play in off-season leagues to make more money. They should want to take those 3-4 months when we're talking about other leagues like the NFL, the NBA, the NHL. They would want that off season to rest their bodies, to rejuvenate. But right now they're playing 5 months out of the year. They're not even playing half of a year. We want to see them add more games so then more revenue can come in, the league can grow. Like that should be everybody's goal, but they're in a really sticky spot because the WNBA season, like they're the only women's basketball league, what am I trying to say here, that doesn't run alongside the men's. So if we talk about college women's basketball, it runs at the same time as the men's do. And if we talk about the NBA, they run on a completely different schedule than the WNBA. So the league is proposing the season starts or training camp starts in mid-March, which again, Project B goes through April. Unrivaled ends around that time. So players would be going straight from Unrivaled straight into training camp. Then you're really not having any sort of off season, and then you'll very much risk injury. On top of that, there are still players who are going overseas and playing in EuroLeague, playing in Turkey, playing in France, playing in Germany. Their seasons run even longer. A lot of times players are playing in the WNBA and then the very next week they're off to Australia or they're off to Turkey or they're off to wherever to play again for the whole rest of the year. They get off the plane and then go straight into training camp for the WNBA. So on one side, I get what the league is trying to do. They do need to extend the season. There needs to be space so that the WNBA can play a longer season than 44 games, or if they're playing those 44 games, lengthen the season a little bit so that the players get a little bit more time in between games. I get that, but where is the time to do that? Because you also likely don't want the season going further into the fall, because NFL, college football season, and the NBA in the United States like truly takes precedence over any other sport. So it seems like they're trying to just cut backwards. But then we talk about the draft. The WNBA draft is held right after the NCAA season, like right after the Final Four. A couple weeks later, the girls are getting drafted. A couple weeks later, they are going into training camp for the WNBA. If they are starting the season in March, they would have to hold the draft when the season was still going on. And then are you drafting rookies? And then when are they playing? It doesn't make sense. Or are you drafting the rookies and they're not playing until the following season? That also kind of doesn't make sense. So I honestly don't know the solution here. It's a really weird situation that we're in when it comes to the WNBA. And I feel like all of this is probably compounded to this point, like all of these issues, all of these, what are they going to do now? It's gotten to this point because the WNBA has always, it kind of felt like an afterthought for the WNBA and also for the NBA, who owns 50% of the WNBA. And unfortunately, when you think of a league as an afterthought, you're not putting priority in. You didn't realize that the WNBA could be super popular one day. And you're going to want to make more games. You're going to want to get more teams. And you're going to want to add more players to this league and continue on the success that you have. Now they're in a super sticky spot. Now they're in a spot where there's players in the WNBPA who are signed to rival leagues, who own rival leagues. Do you think that Napheesa Collier and Breanna Stewart are going to be happy with the WNBA trying to cut into unrivaled season? Do you think NECA is going to be happy that the WNBA is going to try to get them back into training camp in March and she will just be coming off of Project B, where they're also making millions of dollars in Project B? I honestly don't even have a suggestion at this point, but I will say I have been one of the people since the beginning of time who has said there's no way in hell the WNBA can be successful and that Unrivaled and any of these off-season leagues will continue to exist. If the WNBA wants to be as successful as the NBA, the NFL, the NHL, MLB, any of these premier sports leagues in the United States, they have to be the one and only option. The WNBA, their owners are not going to let players play in off-season leagues. I've been saying this from the beginning. Why would you pay a player 7 figures and then let them risk their body playing in a competitor's league, like playing in something that is not your league? That is why there are so many things written out of professional athletes' contracts. Basketball players can't ski, they can't snowboard, they can't do any sort of extreme sports. Like there's a lot of things written out in their contract because they are worth millions of dollars, and the owners in the league do not want them getting hurt doing other things. They are not allowed to play basketball and get paid to play basketball unless they are playing in the NBA. Unfortunately, I'm scratching my head because I don't have the solution, but I do think this is interesting. I don't know if the WNBA is taking out these portions. They're like, here, you get what you want. You get the revenue sharing, you get the major money, but you don't get housing and you're gonna have to extend the season. And we're just saying we're extending the season to help you guys out so you have more time in between games. But truly in the back of their mind, they're thinking if we extend the season, they can't do so many of these off-season leagues. We're not explicitly writing that out of their contracts, but they're gonna have a really hard time doing these off-season leagues if we extend the season. Like, is that the rationale behind it? That was quite the ramble. That's pretty much all I've got. And I will say, unless we get some huge development, I'm going to let this WNBA CBA conversation simmer a little bit. It feels like it's getting a little bit repetitive and we're getting breadcrumbed with details. And I'm not sure if the reason that we're getting breadcrumbed these details is because both parties are trying to sway the public opinion. But I'm going to let it simmer for a little bit. And I'm going to talk about some other things in our next upcoming videos. But with that, you guys, please let me know all of your thoughts in the comments below. Thumbs up this video if you enjoyed it. Click that little subscribe button because we upload new videos every single week. And with that, I'll see you guys next time. Ooh, yeah.